The betrayal that started it all. The stars had always been peaceful. At least, that's what humanity believed. Earth had long been a part of the Galactic Council, a massive organization of alien species that ruled the galaxy. Over the years, humans had built alliances, trade routes, and peace with other species. The Council was always quick to praise humanity for its patience, its ability to adapt, and its peaceful nature. Earth's leaders often believed in diplomacy, in resolving conflicts through talks rather than force. But little did they know, the galaxy was watching them, and some in the Council had grown tired of Earth's peaceful approach. On one quiet evening, Earth's leaders received the first troubling reports. Several colonies on the edge of the galaxy had gone dark, and communications from those areas had ceased. At first, it was dismissed as a technical malfunction or a simple communication failure. But when more reports came in, the tone began to shift. These were no ordinary malfunctions. The colonies weren't just cut off. They were attacked. People were missing. Entire settlements were burned to the ground. It wasn't long before Earth's top officials realized that something far darker was happening. The Galactic Council, the very body that promised protection to all its members, seemed to be turning its back on humanity. One by one, reports from colonies confirmed that Council fleets were responsible for the attacks. Humanity was being betrayed by the very people they had trusted. The news hit Earth like a shockwave. The peaceful government leaders were stunned, struggling to process the reality of it. But the military knew what needed to be done. The United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, quickly began gathering intel, and the truth was undeniable. The Galactic Council had planned the attack, a covert operation designed to wipe out humanity's presence on the outer colonies. Some even whispered that the Council wanted to take Earth's resources for themselves. General Ivan Carter, the leader of UEDF, watched the reports come in. His face was a mask of disbelief, but underneath it, there was a growing fire. His entire life, Earth had always stood by the principle of peace. They had been the diplomats, the peacemakers. But now it seemed that peace had come to an end. He was determined to find out who in the Council had orchestrated this massacre and make them pay for it. "The Council has gone too far," General Carter said, his voice cold. "They've crossed a line. And now, they will see what happens when you push humanity too far." The next few days were tense as Earth's government worked to understand just how deep the betrayal ran. Special teams were deployed to recover information from the destroyed colonies, and the findings were chilling. Not only had Earth's colonies been attacked, but evidence suggested that it wasn't just a random attack. The Galactic Council had chosen humanity as a target, viewing them as weak and inconsequential. Humanity's growing influence in the galaxy had made some in the Council nervous. The humans' peaceful nature was seen as a vulnerability, something that could be easily exploited. But those who underestimated Earth had made a grave mistake. General Carter was not the only one who had realized this. Across the world, Earth's leaders knew that the galaxy had underestimated them. Humanity wasn't just a peaceful race. It was a race capable of great power, something that the Council had ignored. And now, humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. At the same time, the Council members who were behind the attack grew more confident. They thought humanity would cower, that they would mourn their losses and beg for peace. The idea of humans retaliating seemed impossible to them. After all, what could a small planet like Earth do against the might of the Galactic Council? But they were wrong. They didn't know Earth's history, how humanity had always risen in the face of adversity. From the first moments of life on Earth to the exploration of the stars, humans had always found ways to fight back. It wasn't just about weapons or armies. It was about the will to survive. General Carter called an emergency meeting of the Earth's leaders. The time for diplomacy had passed. The time for peace was over. If the Council wanted war, they would have it. But Earth's response would be different. Humanity wouldn't fight a war like the Council expected. They wouldn't fight with overwhelming force. Instead, they would use their ingenuity, their hidden power, and their unwavering spirit to strike back. To all those who thought we were weak, General Carter's voice boomed over the comms. We are not your prey. We are not your pawns. We are humanity, and we will make you regret this mistake. As the call ended, a deep silence fell over the room. Earth's leaders understood the gravity of what was about to happen. The Council had made a terrible mistake, and now humanity was ready to take a stand. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long. As General Carter gazed at the stars outside his window, he knew that Earth was not just going to survive. They would show the galaxy a new kind of power, a power that had been quietly waiting, hidden under the surface of their world, for the right moment to strike. The time for patience was over, and the galaxy would soon learn that Earth's wrath, once unleashed, could not be stopped. The first strike was coming, and humanity was ready. The Galactic Council had no idea what was about to hit them. The Galactic Council remained unaware of the storm they had unleashed. In their great halls, alien diplomats and military leaders congratulated themselves on a mission well executed. Humanity had been wounded, their colonies erased from existence. They believed that Earth, ever the peacemaker, would do what it always did: protest, negotiate, and ultimately surrender. To them, it was a strategic victory. But what they did not understand was that humanity had never truly shown its strength before. The Council had only seen Earth's diplomacy, its kindness, its willingness to cooperate. They had never seen what humanity was capable of when betrayed. Earth's response was not immediate. While the Council celebrated, the United Earth Defense Force worked in complete silence. General Carter, now at the helm of the largest military mobilization in human history, moved with precision. He knew that Earth could not engage the Council in open war. Not yet. The Council's fleet was massive, spanning thousands of systems. Humanity was strong, but they were outnumbered. A direct confrontation would be suicide. But humans did not fight wars the way the Council did. They adapted. They found weaknesses. And most importantly, they struck where their enemies least expected. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in hidden military bases carved into mountains and buried under oceans, war councils were held. Generals, scientists, and strategists worked day and night to develop a plan that would not just fight the Council but dismantle it from within. The key to victory was not brute force but deception. The Council believed humanity was weak, predictable. That was their greatest mistake. The first phase of Earth's plan was intelligence. The Council's attack had left behind a trail of evidence. Among the wreckage of fallen colonies, black boxes were recovered, storing encrypted messages from the invading fleets. Earth's best hackers and AI specialists worked tirelessly to break through the codes. When they succeeded, the truth was far worse than they had imagined. The Council's betrayal was not just about humanity's influence. It was about fear. Earth's technological advancements had outpaced what the Council deemed acceptable. Humanity's rapid progress had frightened the old rulers of the galaxy, and so they decided to strike first, believing that if they crushed humanity now, they would never have to face them as an equal power. What the Council failed to realize was that their attack had not weakened humanity, it had awakened it. The next phase was preparation. Factories across Earth were pushed to maximum production. Hidden shipyards, long thought to be inactive, roared to life. The Council believed humanity's military capabilities were limited to what they had publicly displayed. They had no idea that for decades, Earth had been preparing for the possibility of betrayal. Experimental weapons, once deemed too dangerous for peacetime, were now being tested. Cloaking technology, energy-based weaponry, and advanced eye-controlled fleets, all were being readied in the shadows. Yet, even with these advancements, Earth knew it could not win a prolonged war. The Council had more ships, more soldiers, more resources. If humanity was to survive, it needed to strike hard and fast. It needed to make the Council fear them in a way they had never feared anything before. The first strike would not be an invasion or a declaration of war. It would be a message, a warning that humanity was not to be trifled with. Late one night, as the Galactic Council's ruling members rested in their floating citadels above the capital planet, alarms blared across their security networks. Unidentified signals had been detected entering Council-controlled space. At first, they assumed it was a mistake, a minor glitch in their systems. But as the minutes passed, panic began to spread. The signals were not from any known alien fleet. They were human. Without firing a single shot, Earth had infiltrated the heart of the Council's domain. Dozens of Council fleets scrambled to respond, expecting an attack. But instead of a full-scale invasion, the human ships did something unexpected. They didn't fire on the capital. They didn't engage in battle. Instead, they broadcast a single message across every channel, a message that played on every screen, every device, every comm system in the Council's empire. It was General Carter's voice, calm but unwavering. "We asked for peace. You chose war. We trusted you. You betrayed us. Now we give you one final warning. Leave our systems. Stay away from Earth and its people. If you do not, we will bring a war upon you that no species has ever survived." And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the human ships vanished. The Council leaders sat in stunned silence. Never before had any species dared to infiltrate their space so easily, so effortlessly. The fact that Earth's fleet had reached their capital undetected was impossible to comprehend. It meant that humanity's technology was far beyond what they had estimated. It meant that the humans had been hiding their true strength all along. Some members of the Council dismissed the threat. They saw the warning as nothing more than an act of desperation. But others, the wiser ones, felt a chill of unease. If humanity was bluffing, it was the most dangerous bluff in history. And if they weren't bluffing, then the Council had made the greatest mistake in the galaxy's history. The real war had not yet begun. But the first move had been played. The Galactic Council was in turmoil. The warning from humanity echoed across the highest chambers of power. Some leaders dismissed it as mere posturing, but others, the ones who understood the gravity of the situation, knew better. The fact that Earth's ships had reached the heart of the Council's domain undetected was not just an embarrassment. It was a declaration of power. If humanity had chosen to strike instead of delivering a message, the Council's capital would have been left in ruins. Grand Chancellor Vorix, the highest-ranking leader of the Council, sat in silence as his advisors debated. His reptilian eyes flickered across the reports in front of him. Every scan, every analysis confirmed the same impossible truth. Human ships had appeared within their most secure space, and then they had disappeared without a trace. No warp signatures, no residual energy trails, nothing. It was as if they had emerged from the void itself. "We cannot let them dictate terms," snarled High Admiral Krellis, slamming his fist against the table. "Humans are pests, a species that got too ambitious for their own good. They should be exterminated before they become a true threat. And yet, we don't even know how they got past our defenses," said Councillor Sarvuk, his voice laced with unease. "You saw the footage, Admiral. They could have destroyed us last night. But they didn't. Why? What are they planning?" Vorix exhaled slowly, tapping his claws against the desk. "That is what we must determine. We assumed we understood humans, but it appears we were mistaken." Admiral Krellis sneered. "Bah! They are weak. They were always weak. One lucky infiltration does not make them superior. We still have the largest fleet in the galaxy. Our military is unmatched. We should launch a full invasion of Earth and wipe them out before they become an even bigger problem." Silence filled the chamber. A few of the Council members nodded in agreement, but most looked uncertain. Vorix could feel the fear in the room, though few would admit it. Then another voice spoke. "And what if they're not bluffing?" All eyes turned to Councillor Vereen, one of the oldest members of the Council. She had seen more wars than anyone else in the room, and her instincts had never failed her before. The humans have always been careful, cautious. And yet, despite our betrayal, they didn't attack us outright. That means they believe they have the upper hand, she continued. If we push them now, we may be walking into a trap. Krellis scoffed. A trap? You overestimate them. Vireen leaned forward. Do I? Tell me, Admiral, where are their ships now? If they were here just hours ago, how did they leave without a trace? How did they enter without our knowledge? And most importantly, why did they let us live? The room fell silent once more. No one had an answer. Vorix finally spoke. We cannot act recklessly. We must uncover the extent of their capabilities before we make another move. Admiral Krellis, deploy reconnaissance fleets to the Sol system. We will observe, gather intelligence, and determine whether the humans are truly a threat. Krellis looked displeased, but he nodded. As you command, Grand Chancellor. The meeting was adjourned, and soon, the Council's fleets began their silent approach toward Earth. They believed they were the hunters. They did not realize they were walking straight into the jaws of the beast. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Carter stood in the war room, staring at the holographic display of approaching enemy fleets. He had expected the Council's response, and they had acted exactly as predicted. They were arrogant, convinced of their superiority. They would come to observe, to test humanity's defenses before committing to another full-scale attack. He turned to his officers. Are the preparations complete? Yes, sir, replied Admiral Lee. We've positioned our fleets in the asteroid belt, hidden from their scanners. If they get too close, we'll make sure they regret it. Carter nodded. Good, but we don't strike first. We let them come. We let them believe they are in control. He glanced at the countdown timer on the display. And when the time is right, we show them exactly what they've provoked. A slow smile spread across his face. The trap was set. The Council had no idea what awaited them. The Galactic Council's reconnaissance fleets entered the Sol system cautiously. Their ships, sleek and bristling with advanced scanning technology, moved like silent predators through the void, searching for weaknesses in Earth's defenses. The Council still believed they had the upper hand, that their betrayal had left humanity crippled. They expected to find a broken, desperate species scrambling to survive. What they found instead was silence. The usual chatter of civilian traffic, the hum of trade ships moving between planets. Gone. Mars, once a bustling colony, seemed abandoned. The orbital stations around Earth, which should have been filled with commercial and military activity, were eerily quiet. Even Earth's defense satellites, which should have been scanning the approaching fleets, remained inactive. To the Council's admirals, it looked as if humanity had given up. But for those who were more observant, it felt wrong. Too wrong. On board the flagship Tarkvol, Admiral Krellis sat in the command chair, his claws tapping impatiently against the armrest. They are hiding, he growled, or they are already defeated. Commander Rilvak, his second-in-command, hesitated. Or they want us to believe that. Krellis shot him an irritated glance. What are you suggesting? Rilvak frowned at the data streaming in from their scans. There's no way a species as stubborn as humanity would abandon its defenses so completely. It feels unnatural. It could be a trap. Krellis snorted. Paranoia. Humans are not that clever. Before Rilvak could argue, an officer called out, Admiral, long-range scanners have detected something strange. What is it? Krellis asked, leaning forward. The officer's scaled fingers danced across the control panel. There's a structure beneath Earth's oceans. Several, actually. Large, metallic readings. But they weren't there before. Our records don't show any human installations of this size. Krellis narrowed his eyes. Show me. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the bridge, displaying Earth from orbit. The image zoomed in on the Pacific Ocean, deep beneath the surface, where an unnatural formation rested on the ocean floor. At first glance, it looked like a cluster of mountains, but the scanners revealed something shocking. Metallic hulls, energy signatures, and movement. It was a fleet. A fleet of ships so large and advanced that even the Council's top scientists would have struggled to explain their existence. And they weren't just resting there. They were awakening. The bridge fell silent. Rilvac swallowed hard. "Admiral, this was never a retreat. They've been preparing for us." Krellis clenched his fists. "Impossible. They couldn't have built this many warships without us knowing." And yet there they were. The massive structures hidden beneath Earth's oceans were more than just ships. They were war platforms, entire battle stations disguised as part of the planet itself. They had remained dormant for years, maybe decades, waiting for the right moment. And now, the moment had come. A sudden spike in energy readings sent alarms blaring across the Tarkvol's bridge. The hidden fleet was powering up. Shields activated. Weapons systems came online. The dark ocean waters churned as the colossal warships began to rise. One by one, massive vessels emerged from the depths, breaking through the waves like titans from ancient legends. Their hulls gleamed under the sun, water cascading off their armored surfaces. These were not the crude warships the Council had expected. These were something else entirely. Ships with hulls reinforced by experimental alloys. Weapons that pulsed with energy never before seen in Council warfare. And at the center of it all, a single, monstrous dreadnought, larger than anything in the Council's fleet, lifted itself from the ocean, its engines igniting with terrifying power. Earth had not been retreating. Earth had been waiting. On the Tarkvol's bridge, the officers stood frozen, watching in disbelief as the ocean fleet ascended into the sky. Then, a new transmission cut through every frequency. A single human voice. Cold. Unforgiving. "This is General Carter of the United Earth Defense Force. You were warned. Now you will see why humanity was never meant to be underestimated." The signal cut off. Then the first energy bolts fired. The battle had begun. The first shot was a warning. A blinding beam of energy lanced through the void, narrowly missing the lead Council battleship. The Tarkvol's sensors overloaded for a split second, struggling to process the sheer power behind the blast. Every officer on the bridge flinched, their scales rippling with unease. Admiral Krellis gripped the armrests of his chair, his talons digging into the polished metal. "What was that?" he barked. The weapons officer's voice was tense. "Unknown energy signature, Admiral. Our shields, they wouldn't have held against that." Krellis' eyes narrowed. "You mean to tell me the humans now wield a weapon strong enough to pierce our defenses in a single strike?" The officer hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, Admiral." Silence filled the bridge. Meanwhile, high above Earth, the hidden fleet completed its ascent. Ships, enormous and sleek, moved in perfect formation. Unlike the rugged industrial designs of the old human fleets, these warships looked unnatural, alien. The fact that the humans had built them in secret made the Council officers' stomachs churn. "Multiple warships locking onto us," Rilvac muttered. His voice held something Krellis had never heard before. Fear. Krellis slammed his fist onto the console. "We did not come here to be intimidated. I want all ships in attack formation. Now." The Council fleet obeyed, hundreds of vessels shifting into battle formation. The Tarkvol took position at the center, its weapons charging. Despite their shock, the Council still believed in their superiority. That belief shattered the moment the first human warship opened fire. The massive dreadnought, still dripping with ocean water, fired a concentrated energy beam at the nearest Council battleship. The ship's shields flared for half a second before collapsing. The beam ripped straight through the hull, splitting the vessel in two. The explosion was deafening, sending debris scattering through space. The Council fleet hesitated. Then, Earth's fleet surged forward. The humans didn't fight like before. There was no desperation in their movements, no sign of a struggling species fighting for survival. They moved with precision, with efficiency, like hunters. Every strike was calculated, every attack devastating. Another Council cruiser went down in flames. then another. The Tarkvol's bridge crew scrambled to keep up. "Admiral, our forces are being overwhelmed. Hold the line," Krellis roared. But how could they? Humanity had never truly revealed its strength. The Council had believed Earth was weak, struggling to survive on the scraps the galaxy allowed them. But in reality, they had been evolving, planning. And now, they were proving a terrible truth. They had never been weak. They had been waiting for the right moment to strike. The Council's fleet began to falter. Some ships attempted to retreat, only to be hunted down by the faster, deadlier human warships. Others fought desperately, their weapons lighting up the void. But their efforts were futile. Amidst the chaos, another message came through. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was a declaration. "This is General Carter of the United Earth Defense Force. You made your choice when you betrayed us. Now you face the consequences." With that, the largest human warship, the Leviathan, powered its main weapon. Energy surged along its massive frame, and in a single devastating shot, it wiped out an entire battle formation of Council warships. Admiral Krellis watched in horror as his fleet crumbled before his eyes, and for the first time in his life, he felt true fear. This wasn't a battle. This was an execution. The battlefield was no longer a battlefield. It was a graveyard. Wreckage of Council warships drifted lifelessly in the void, their shattered hulls still glowing from the devastating blasts that had torn through them. Fires burned in the oxygen pockets of ruptured vessels, casting an eerie glow over the remains of what was once the most feared fleet in the galaxy. And amidst it all, Earth's warships moved with cold, calculated precision, finishing off the last survivors. Admiral Krellis stood frozen on the bridge of the Tarkvol, watching the slaughter unfold. His claws trembled against the console. The Council fleet, his fleet, was no match for humanity's hidden power. "Admiral, incoming transmission." From General Carter, his communications officer said hesitantly. A moment later, the human general appeared on the holoscreen. His face was calm, devoid of rage or cruelty. That made it even worse. This wasn't vengeance, it was justice. "You should have listened, Admiral," Carter said. "We warned you. We gave you every chance to walk away. But instead, you chose to betray us." Krellis swallowed hard. We underestimated you." Carter's expression remained unreadable. "Yes, you did." Behind him, the massive human warship, Leviathan, finished charging its primary weapon. Krellis could see its energy banks glowing with an unnatural light, ready to unleash devastation once more. "Please," Krellis said, his voice barely a whisper now. "Spare my crew. Spare my people. We surrender." Carter sighed. "Surrender?" He tilted his head slightly. "After you tried to wipe us out. After you mocked us. After you treated us as nothing more than a nuisance." Krellis had no answer. Carter exhaled. "We are not monsters, Admiral. We won't slaughter those who surrender." A flicker of hope sparked in Krellis' chest. "But," Carter's voice hardened, "the Council is finished. Your leaders will answer for their crimes. Your fleets will be dismantled. And from this day forward, you will never challenge Earth again. Do you understand?" Krellis nodded, defeated. "Yes." Carter gave a final nod. "Then power down your weapons, stand down, and pray that your people learn from this mistake." The transmission cut off. A moment later, Krellis gave the order. Across the remains of the Council fleet, weapons powered down. Shields flickered off. The surviving ships ceased fire, their crews stunned into silence. Humanity had won, and the galaxy would never forget it. The silence that followed the surrender was deafening. The remains of the Galactic Council's once mighty fleet drifted aimlessly, broken and crippled. There were no cheers, no celebrations. The humans aboard the Leviathan stood somber, fully aware of the monumental nature of their victory. It wasn't just a military conquest, it was a statement. General Carter stood on the bridge, his eyes staring out at the destruction. His crew had performed flawlessly, but he knew it wasn't the firepower that had secured the victory. It was humanity's will to survive. It was the refusal to remain passive, to be bullied by those who thought they could control the universe. "We have broken them, General," Captain Harper said, stepping up beside him. Her voice was steady, but there was a hint of awe in it. "The galaxy will never be the same again." Carter nodded, but his mind was already shifting to the future. This victory had come at a cost. There were still pockets of resistance from various galactic factions, and the galaxy was vast. There would be others who would seek revenge, others who would test Earth's resolve. But humanity had proven something undeniable today. "We've sent a message," Carter said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "We showed them that we will not be anyone's puppet, and if they think we've forgotten, they're wrong." He turned to his communications officer. "Open a channel to the surviving council ships. All of them." The officer hesitated but complied, and soon, Krellis appeared on the holoscreen once again. The once proud admiral looked utterly defeated, his eyes hollow and filled with a mixture of fear and shame. "We are not here to negotiate, Admiral," Carter said coldly, his voice resolute. "This is your final warning. Humanity's patience is gone. We've given the galaxy every chance to coexist. You crossed the line. If anyone dares to challenge Earth again, you will wish you hadn't." Krellis bowed his head, knowing that even if he wanted to, there was no longer any room for negotiation. The Galactic Council, as it had been, was no more. Earth had broken free from the chains of oppression, and now there would be no more mercy. "We will pass your message on," Krellis replied quietly, his voice drained. We understand." The transmission ended. Carter took a deep breath, looking around at his crew. There was no time for victory laps. There was no joy to be found in war, only in the peace that followed it. But the peace wouldn't come easily. "Prepare for the next phase," Carter ordered. "We may have won today, but the galaxy will take time to understand the new order, and we'll be ready. We're not done." He turned and walked toward the command center, his face hardening once more. Humanity had proven its strength today. And now, the galaxy would learn to fear and respect Earth, not because of the ships in the sky, but because of the people beneath them. The people who, when pushed too far, would never hesitate to rise up and strike back. This was just the beginning.